You got laid off last year and you're like, okay, just going to do the freelancing. Can you tell us that moment where you're like, oh, I could actually do this versus a full-time job?
Freelancing in addition to full-time jobs has always been a stressful thing. So it sort of developed this bitter taste towards client work for me because every time I did it, it was a stressful thing. I had this hatred almost towards client work. Even just a couple of years ago, I had committed like, yeah, I think I'm done with client work. Like, I'm never going to do it again. But then about a month before I got laid off, I had started with a client that was my friend and he wanted to give me some work to do. And it was a really cool project and I agreed to do it. And thankfully I had started with him because then that helped me to have some income going into my layoff. Then they were willing to increase my hours because I got laid off and then I had more free time and they actually needed more work. So it was good timing. But at that moment, I still didn't even know if I wanted to do it. And I was just applying for jobs, doing interviews, doing the whole desperation, try to get my next job after a layoff. At the same time, I had some more clients reaching out. It took a couple months. And I think also it took a few rejections from the roles I was really excited about. So I kind of got this bitterness towards the whole interview process and job hunt. So I was like, you know what? At that moment, all of a sudden, client work started to feel more appealing. I was like, these people I have a couple of clients like wanting to work with me right now. And so I was like, I'm going to do it and I'll just try it for a few months, see how it goes. Maybe I'll end up getting a full-time job later. But then it just became consistent. Like it was the first time in my career that I ever did freelance work that wasn't project-based. And for me, I think that was a game changer. I didn't realize how powerful a retainer can be and how much stability that can create. So I was fortunate to get a couple of client retainers that have been very consistent. I've had one pause and then I've had new ones come up. It's been pretty consistent though since about a year ago. That's the long answer for your question about how I discovered or realized that client work was an option.
Follow-up question to that. You're talking about retainers. What's the difference from what you're doing with the client to like other productized service agencies?
Really good question. That's probably more of a buzzword now, subscriptions versus retainers. There's probably some differences. Just like everything in the design industry, it seems like everyone has different definitions of these words. From my perspective, they're very identical. I just really don't like the word subscription, but that is actually how I've been working with my clients is on a monthly, I invoice them once a month. And so it is similar to a design subscription. I don't do any of the 1 or 2 or 3 requests and 48-hour turnaround. Basically, the way I operate is I feel like I'm integrated into their team like a full-time employee, and I join their weekly design reviews, design planning, and then I'm in their Slack, I'm in their Figma, which maybe is different from those design subscriptions where it feels more outsourced. I think those design subscriptions for product, I just don't see how that can be viable beyond 2 to 3 or 4 clients. At some point, you're just doing surface level work and you're not going deep into problem solving. And so I've learned that even just having 2 is a lot of work. Like imagine part-time hours as a product designer for 2 different teams. Like there's so much discovery and work to be done and you just can't do that with like 10 teams. So some of these design subscription agencies that are busting out like 50 to 100K in revenue every month, they're probably not doing really robust product design. Like I just can't imagine it unless they have a massive team, but some of them tout that they are a solo designer. So I'm just like, the math doesn't math. Like a solo designer servicing even 5 teams is such a challenge. Between 2 to 4 is like the max to be able to actually go deep into the problems that they're facing and trying to build around those.
There are pros and cons of being fully integrated and then being kind of outsourced. I think one of the huge cons of being fully integrated is that a lot of your time can be demanded. If you've got 4 clients, you have 4 different stand-ups, 4 different Slack channels, 4 different sprint plannings. How do you manage that from a time perspective? Are there guardrails that you kind of put in place to protect this valuable like deep work time, right?
Good question. So I don't do any of the daily stand-ups. There is a client or two that I have that do those and I just don't join them. And it helps to set the precedent early that I am a part-time member of your team. And not every company works this way. So it's tricky to find the right clients that are looking for this. And that's what I've learned is I've had a few companies reach out, for full-time jobs and I try to pitch them on like, hey, could we do part-time client work instead? And they're just like, nope, we just need a full-time designer. So it's tricky to find someone that's looking for month-to-month work that is part-time hours, but is basically integrated into the team. So when I do though, I explicitly tell them, it's going to be part-time hours. So they know, and it comes up often. Sometimes they're like, I'll be on a call with a PM and they're like, I know you're part-time. So let me know if I'm asking too many requests of you. So they're really cool about it usually. And I try to just do like usually just one. I have a couple clients that have 2 meetings per week. I know those subscription agency models, they say like strictly no meetings. I don't do that. I try to have at least a weekly call to go over plans, review past designs. And I've also upgraded my Loom account to the premium version so I can send Looms and try to do async that way, which helps.
Have you ever billed a client more because it ramped up to sort of full time? Or are you very protective? You're like 20 hours a week. I'm sorry, but there's other people that I'm also working for. Or have you had that off chance where you're like, no, I have to bill you for a full week this week because it's just crazy?
Not yet, thankfully. I've been pretty consistent with just the monthly rate. And then, sometimes there's less work in a week. Sometimes it goes up. Thankfully, it's been evened out and I've been able to keep all the clients happy. It's like a juggling act, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's where the weekly planning is so important, because when we're trying to decide what are we going to do this week or in the coming week, that's the moment where I would say, I don't think this is feasible with my schedule, with my other demands, with the hours that we've agreed to. So I think that setting the expectation early is pretty crucial part of it, to not let things go overblown.
So I don't want to switch gears a bit. You did a lightning lesson with Maven recently, and you mentioned this phrase of becoming a highly discoverable designer. I want to kind of hone in on that because I think it touches a lot on the questions that people have, which are like, how the hell do I find clients? What's my positioning? Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. Whenever I switched jobs or found clients, a lot of it was inbound. And I think a lot of that is due to...
Want to listen to the full conversation? Click the video on screen now. Subscribe to the channel if you want to join us live. Oh, wait. Okay, fine, you don't have to join us for the live stream, but if you like stuff like this, then click that subscribe button. I'll see you on the inside. Bye!